Hey, welcome back to the 5-Minute Strategist. So most people have a bucket list of things they'd like to do, places they'd like to see, or things they'd like to try. My bucket list is filled with experiences that I've become weirdly obsessed with at some point in my life. I've been lucky to tick off a few of them. I have walked on the Great Wall of China. I quit my job to hang out in the middle of the Canadian tundra at minus 40 degrees just so I could see polar bears. I've eaten steak morning, noon, and night in Buenos Aires. And I still have more on my list. But there are some things that I've had to cross off, like dining at 11 Madison Park. Yes, it still exists. Yes, it's still an amazing restaurant. But I'm just way too carnivorous to spend that amount of money on plant-based fine dining. But my obsession with that restaurant continues. I've watched every documentary, read all the blogs, and most recently devoured Unreasonable Hospitality, The Remarkable Power of Giving People More Than They Expect by Will Guidara. He was the general manager of 11 Madison Park, and this book is a deep dive into his journey and the concept of hospitality and customer service. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's one of those books that's part business masterclass and part an enchanting story. And today I want to challenge your customer experience strategy with a few of the concepts from this book. When we talk about customer experience in the online business world, most business owners will spat out the familiar concept of surprise and delight. But we are not business noobs. So I'm here with some much bigger ideas instead. The first idea is that it's not what you do, but how you do it. In his book, Will Guidara refers to the most memorable experiences being about doing the ordinary things in extraordinary ways. We tend to think of surprise and delight and customer experience at those big touch points. In the same way that there's nothing much new in the small business world, somebody probably offers what you offer in a slightly different way. They also probably do surprise and delight at similar points to you. At the start of a program, maybe for a core milestone, maybe some offboarding with a final ta-da. But what if instead you could make the entire journey your client takes with you feel like surprise and delight by elevating not just that major milestone, but all the mundane touch points as well? We need to stop thinking about doing the big thing at big moments to surprise and delight our customers, and instead think about how we can do the smaller things throughout the journey that elevates the entire experience. The next lesson is one I kind of wish I didn't have to share, because with the clue in the name, I shouldn't really need to say it, but I'm going to anyway. Customer, underlined, bolded, experience is not about you. In the book, Will Guidara talks about hospitality being about making customers feel as if their needs are the priority. So if we want them to feel like we care about and prioritize their needs, we need to understand what those needs are. And we need to understand that before, during, and after their journey with us, which means we need to collect and analyze feedback throughout that journey. We want to be much more proactive about how we gather that feedback. And then we need to remember that collecting and acting on feedback are two very different things. If you are not going to act on the feedback, please don't waste your clients' time asking them to fill in surveys that you're never going to read or never going to use. And then when we're ready to act on that feedback, and this is understandable, sometimes it's hard to see how acting on that feedback is going to get us some kind of return. In fact, it often feels like a cost up front to us that maybe we feel like we can't afford. But the long-term benefit of their goodwill coming out through referrals, word of mouth, and testimonials is the kind of marketing a business cannot buy. So if you were to plot out your customer journey, how many feedback points are there? And where there are feedback points, where's the process that takes that feedback into implementation? Okay, finally, my favorite lesson from the book, and the hardest, I think. Will talks about excellence being the result of habitual integrity. Think about that for a second. That means that integrity is so embedded in your business that you do it without even thinking. And before you get upset and think, oh, Diane, I would never cheat my clients, how very dare you, I'm not suggesting that you would. I'm not suggesting that you're not delivering on your big promises. But what about all the tiny touch points? Is excellence creeping in there? I know it's hard to be excellent everywhere, But I also know that in the online space, it's pretty rare to just be the person who does what they say they'll do, by when they say they'll do it, for how much they say it'll cost. It's an incredibly low bar. So you have an opportunity to make a huge impact on your customer experience or customer journey just by consistently looking for excellence in each step of that journey, instead of just focusing on the ones that they'll notice. This is the kind of stuff that builds that trust that we talk about in the know, like, and trust. We think know, like, and trust is only about they trust us to be the person who can deliver the big thing. But how quickly could you destroy their trust by being the person who drops the ball on the little thing? So where could you surprise and delight your customers or clients by making something ordinary that they need feel extraordinary? And then how can you do it over and over again?